When Chuck Wilson first stepped into his new luxury bungalow in Ashland Falls, it was supposed to be the start of a peaceful new life. A fresh chapter for his wife Maria, a rising fashion designer, and his emotionally fragile younger sister Isabelle, still grieving the tragic loss of their mother. But the rain dripping from the ceiling was the first betrayal. Water leaking through the roof of a mansion that cost a fortune. A small crack that signaled the start of a much deeper fracture beneath their world. At first glance, 825 Forest Road lures you in with the familiarity of domestic life, a couple settling in, a quiet village, even a friendly neighbor named Larry. But as the camera lingers on unsettling details, a mannequin that shouldn't move, a photograph that doesn't look right, you begin to feel it, that creeping, acidic sense of wrongness that director Stephen Cognetti thrives on. Gone are his found footage tricks. Here, he trades shaky cam for slow burn dread, and it works frighteningly well. Larry's warning comes early. The previous owner committed suicide. The real estate agent never mentioned that, of course. But even more disturbing is Chuck's photo of the leak, one that somehow includes a shotgun, even though there are no weapons in the house. That's when you realize 825 Forest Road isn't playing fair. This house has memory. It bleeds its past into the present. One of the most brilliantly disturbing elements early on is the mannequin, a simple prop from Maria's fashion studio, or so it seems, that inexplicably appears in the garden. It's silent, plastic, lifeless until it isn't. Cognetti gives it a presence, never overplaying his hand, letting the audience and Chuck wonder if they're imagining things. Is it a prank by Isabelle, a mental breakdown, or has something ancient already wormed its way into their lives? Chuck's journey to the village library only deepens the unease. Through dusty books and hushed warnings, we are introduced to the tragic legacy of Helen Foster, a mother consumed by grief and vengeance, whose suicide in 1980 birthed an annual string of mysterious deaths. Every piece of the puzzle, the returned letters, the old house, the girl named Ashley who begs Chuck to stop digging, hints at a larger secret buried beneath the quiet charm of Ashland Falls. But this isn't a mystery that wants to stay buried. The genius of 825 Forest Road lies in how it doesn't rely on jump scares or gore to unsettle you. It builds dread by letting the audience sit with the character's paranoia. The house is not simply haunted. It's a living echo of past agony, and its grip is tightening. Chuck's suspicions begin to spiral after his trip to the library and his first encounter with the villagers' secretive garden club. These meetings, hushed, somber, and attended by only a handful of locals, crack open the story's core mystery. Ellen Foster, the grieving mother who took her own life in 1980, haunts the village in ways no one dares to speak aloud. Her spirit is rumored to be behind the annual suicides, a curse with a clock that never stops ticking. From this point, the story takes on a fever dream logic. Time feels fractured. The past infects the present. The mannequin moves when no one's looking. The piano plays itself. A little girl's sobs echo through empty rooms. And Isabelle, already unstable from grief, becomes the next target of the darkness that hides inside the bungalow. The film smartly shifts perspectives here, letting us live inside Isabelle's unraveling mind. Her nights are plagued by flickering lights, unexplained voices, and visions of her dead mother, all rendered with a chilling sense of restraint. Cognetti doesn't show us monsters. He shows us fear, wearing a familiar face. Isabelle's horror isn't only supernatural, it's personal. It's about losing your grip on what's real, especially when grief opens doors better left closed. Then comes one of the film's most unsettling sequences, Maria's live session in her design studio. She's streaming, working, smiling, but behind her, the mannequin's hand twitches. At first, you might miss it. Then, it's gone entirely. The horror here is subtle and brilliant. The mannequin doesn't jump at her, it simply vanishes. And when Maria realizes it, she's still talking to the camera, trying to maintain professionalism, while her eyes betray real panic. The messages flood in from her friends watching the live stream, warning her to get out now. But she doesn't listen. She finishes her session, and in doing so, she steps over a line she can't come back from. By now, we as the audience are no longer asking what is happening. We're asking why. Why this house? Why these people? And slowly, the pieces fall into place. The old address, the recycled floor plans, the unholy overlap between past and present. Chuck and Isabelle begin putting it all together. Letters written by Helen, a map that reveals the truth. 825 Forest Road didn't disappear. It was renamed, rebuilt, and sold like a cursed relic wrapped in shiny packaging. The very house they live in now was once Helen's home. The haunting wasn't drawn to them. They moved into its nest, and then something shifts. The ghost isn't content with whispers anymore. It wants to speak, to act, to punish. Chuck finds the same layout in a decrepit house in the woods. Maria, left at home, suddenly starts speaking in a voice that isn't hers. The spirit of Helen has possessed her, recounting her daughter's torment, the bullying, the abandonment, and her rage. She doesn't want peace. She wants someone to pay. Cognetti shoots these scenes with chilling precision. No shaky cam, no screen stingers, just a slow escalation of supernatural force pressing down on a family that's cracking under pressure. And the worst part, we start to feel sympathy for the ghost. Helen wasn't a monster. She was broken, abandoned, and her suffering became an infection, passed from generation to generation. By the final act, 825 Forest Road evolves from a traditional haunted house film into something far more tragic and personal. This isn't about spirits seeking closure. It's about pain that won't let go. A house that remembers every scream, every unanswered cry, every betrayal. And now, it's remembering again. Chuck and Isabelle arrive at the original 825 Forest Road, or what remains of it. The house is hidden in the woods, a rotting structure swallowed by time. They break in, and what they find inside is a twisted mirror of their own home. Same architecture, same layout, different era. The implication is horrifying. They've been living in a replica of the house where Helen Foster died. Not near it, inside it. Meanwhile, back home, Maria, now fully overtaken by Helen's spirit, begins to unravel. Her voice shifts. Her words are not her own. She recalls the bullying of her daughter in agonizing detail, each syllable laced with bitterness. And as she speaks, the house itself seems to respond. Coldness seeps in, lights flicker, blood trickles from her nose. But Maria doesn't even flinch. She's not really there anymore. It's here that the film reveals its most heartbreaking truth. Helen wasn't trying to hurt people randomly. She was trying to make someone, anyone, listen. In life, no one did. In death, she made sure they couldn't ignore her. Chuck finds a box buried beneath the floorboards of the original house, filled with letters Helen wrote to the school, begging for help, all unanswered and returned unopened. In that moment, he realizes the horrible symmetry. Isabelle, fragile, grieving, unseen, is the new version of Helen's daughter. The cycle is repeating, and if they don't break it now, it never will. But the house doesn't want to let go. As Chuck and Isabelle try to leave, they're pulled back by an unseen force. Isabelle is gripped by something invisible, and Chuck throws himself into the room after her. They vanish into darkness, swallowed by the very pain they came to confront. It's ambiguous, terrifying, and emotionally devastating. And it's exactly how a story like this should end. The brilliance of 825 Forest Road isn't just in the horror, though it delivers on that front with eerie visuals, cold atmosphere, and moments of true dread. No, its power comes from how personal the terror is. This is a ghost story about grief, about mental illness, about the people we ignore until it's too late. The haunted house isn't just a house. It's a symbol of unresolved trauma, passed down like a family heirloom. It doesn't need to possess its victims. It simply waits for their pain to surface. Stephen Cognetti's departure from found footage into classic narrative horror feels like the right evolution. There's confidence in his pacing, emotional weight behind every scare, and a haunting message that lingers long after the final scene fades to black. 825 Forest Road isn't a movie about ghosts. It's a movie about memory and the horror of what we leave behind when we pretend not to see the suffering around us.